Anyway, moving on, because I'm not going to continue that. Let's talk about some gaming news for the week. Starting with how the week started off, which was the Tokyo 2020 Olympics had an opening ceremony full of video game music. So the music came from... Are you looking at me right now, Carly? Am I not adorable?
Hold on, I'm looking.
Okay. I'm so cute, right? Oh my God. Okay. So the music for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics came from Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, the Tales of series, Monster Hunter, Kingdom Hearts, thanks, Ace Combat, Chrono Trigger, Sonic the Hedgehog, Nier, the Saga series, Soul Calibur, and some more that were in there. Some people were saying that, you know, this is just a wonderful distraction from the fact that Tokyo has like the highest rate for COVID right now. And things are really, really bad because right outside of the Olympics, there were protests about the Olympics happening in Tokyo in the middle of a pandemic. But we're talking about video game music. So yeah, it was cool. Any comments on that?
No, I thought it was awesome. And while I give my comments, I'm also going to tie into one of the other stories that we have on here. Yeah, I was really not expecting that at all. Like I knew that Tokyo 2020 was going to have some kind of like video game stuff because when Rio ended at their closing ceremony, they just straight up showed like a guy coming out of a warp pipe. And then Mario and Doraemon were just right there. So I'm just like, okay, there's going to be some weeb ass shit in this Olympics. And I'm here for it. And sure enough, when the parade day started, they started with the freaking Dragon Quest theme. I was like, all right, here we go. Let's go. And then we got all these different game musics. I can't believe Chrono Trigger was among there. I haven't played Chrono Trigger,
it's so old, but still so good.
Right, I haven't played Chrono Trigger myself, but I've heard like a lot of the songs, and that soundtrack is killer, especially Frog's theme. That's just like, Nier was out there, like freaking Nier, the song of the ancients was there. I was like, but the best.
It's literally the same thing for me. Like I hadn't played Chrono Trigger, and I heard it, and I like really enjoyed that music. And I was talking to a friend who was like, "Yeah, it's really cool that this game music still holds up."
Oh yeah, honestly. And the last thing I'm going to say about like just general comments about the music was that it is so appropriate that at the freaking Olympics, one of the songs was Olympus Coliseum from Kingdom Hearts.
From Kingdom Hearts,
like,
yeah.
And just a name aside, it's just the song was just so fitting as like the nation's just walking in. It's just like it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. This is a song choice in that case. But if you don't mind, I'll use that as a transition to one of the other news stories we have since it evolves. Yeah, because Nintendo, according to this report, was have their music there as well.
Wait, you just broke up for me. Can you repeat that?
Sure. Yeah, Nintendo was also to have music there as well. They according to reports that I've read, we were supposed to get like music from Mario, Legend of Zelda, a Kirby medley, and even Pokemon music, which totally tracks if you're gonna have Nintendo music. Those are the four ones I guess you would pick.
Yep.
But yeah, they it was recently confirmed that their reasoning for dropping out was because there's protests through the Olympics in Tokyo. They polled the people of Japan if they wanted to even do this Olympics. It was like 80% against the Olympics happening in Japan. So Nintendo was probably like, maybe we probably shouldn't go there.
It's so interesting because this goes right back to what we were saying, right? Nintendo is always trying to do the right thing right now, company-wise. Like they're adding inclusion, they're doing all of this. They see that people don't want this happening. They see the protests, they see what's going on, and they're like, yeah, no, we're not gonna, join this. But it's so interesting because I don't actually know, but it sounded like a lot of these were, renditions for the Olympics done by different, by whoever was hired at the Olympics to play the music. So I'm always like, I'm assuming that, they came to Square Enix like, hey, can we get a license to play some of these songs on air, I guess? And they were probably just like, yes. So I wonder how much of that is really, how much of that is really up to, Square Enix versus, the Olympics and what they decide to play. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
Think that's an interesting conversation.
Certainly, as far as the songs that did make it to the Olympics, the vast majority of it was Square Enix music. Like almost like half of those series was Square Enix music, and then just like a smattering of a few other companies got thrown in there as well. But yeah, certainly Nintendo's involvement was definitely. Supposedly they're all supposed to do something in the opening ceremony as well. There's supposed to be like some sort of presence there. That of course didn't happen just because Nintendo just wants to make sure that they're not part of because they know that the people in Japan just really don't want it, so they just didn't want to be. It makes sense. It does make me lament what could have been, but I'm happy with what we did get because
two best companies, Square Enix and Nintendo. Come on.
Yeah, if they both would have been there, oh my god! But I'm happy with what we got. Don't come
for me. I was just saying. So speaking of Pokemon, there is a Pokemon live action series in the early development at Netflix from Lucifer's Joe Henderson. Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. All I got to say about that is, in a world where Pokemon Detective Pikachu didn't come out, this would have scared the shit out of me. But I did really like Pokemon Detective Pikachu. It was a really good movie, actually.
Yeah, it was great. I liked it.
It was surprisingly good take on a live action Pokemon. So yeah, I think a Netflix series could do pretty well with the Pokemon. If we have the same kind of care in the designs, it'll at least look good. As far as storyline, I'm just curious what it'll end up being. I mean, obviously, if this is just announced now, this is probably still pretty far out. But I'm interested to see how the final project goes, how many episodes it has, what they intend to adapt. Because Detective Pikachu is, of course, based on that same name game where it's So who knows what the Netflix series? It could be a completely original story. It could be based on the core series. It could be based on one of the multitude of spinoffs. It's Pokemon. The world is vast. There's a lot of lore associated with each individual Pokemon. They could literally do whatever and be fine. I've heard the most popular one I've heard has been this guy Lucifer he's done like a lot of like serious like darker shows. I've heard some people throw out, what if it's just about Looker from the Diamond and Pearl games and he's just like trying to solve international crimes with Pokemon by his side. I'm like, yeah, that could work.
I mean, I just like to say Lucifer isn't really a dark show, so.
No, not Lucifer. No, not Lucifer itself. I'm just talking about other shows.
Yeah. No. I know. You're saying these other shows. I'm just saying because they use Lucifer, that one's not that dark. I think it is it's more like a dramedy. Yeah. But let's stick to Nintendo. Digimon Survive has been delayed yet again. This time to 2022. That's from Nintendo Life.
Nintendo Life, but that's actually not a Nintendo game. I mean, I guess so. It doesn't matter.
No. The website Nintendo Life, I'm saying, is our source for the story.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Nintendo. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. You okay?
Now I hit my desk and my iPad fell.
Ah, shit. I'll make my thoughts. I'll make my thoughts on Digimon Survive really quick. Yeah, I was really looking forward to this game. So this game got announced in 2018, and then got delayed to 2019, and then got delayed to 2020, and then to 2021. One or two of those delays, of course, had to do with COVID. But with this many delays, they're probably really struggling to make this game. I'm gonna be real with you guys. This is a very ambitious game. Based on that very first trailer they showed, it's very Fire Emblem like, but they seem to want like who lives and who dies in each chapter matter more to like the overall story. Like I looked at the trailer and I was excited. I was like, can they do this? Like, is this team capable of making a game this ambitious? Because it seemed like they had all these different cutscenes. Like they were showing like a cutscene like Agumon talking. He's like, "I'll fight with you," and then they showed like a different cutscene where Agumon wasn't there, and there's like, "What? How are you gonna do this?"
Do not doubt developers. Damn it, they got this.
Yeah, I'm just saying this is like something way higher than they like. I'm not saying the Digimon games have been bad, far from it. Like Cyber Sleuth in particular was like a really good RPG, but like this is like a strategy RPG with like all these like multiple choices. Like at the very least, it would take a long time. So even I was saying that 1 year might be too much. So I wasn't surprised with the first delay. I'm just saying that for it to go all the way to 2022 is oh boy, I hope they're doing okay. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm still looking forward to the game. I just I hope they got their vision intact.
So the last thing I will mention about Nintendo is that there's also an update coming for Pokemon Snap. So yay for anyone still playing Pokemon Snap.
For Animal Crossing after.
Oh my God! Finally, thank you. I almost forgot. There's also finally
an update that was the game of the year.
Although we don't know what's coming in that update. I don't think they haven't mentioned.
We don't know
yet. So
please have the roost. I want coffee in Animal Crossing.
It's just we know that it's coming, but we don't know what's coming in it. So there's that. Now
I do want to touch. Wait, hang on. I want
to Wild too.
I want to touch real quick on the new Pokemon Snap. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's new stages, day and night, new Pokemon to take pictures of. That's cool. One thing I will highlight though is that there's a mode that's being added to the game where you'll be able to go to certain levels in mini form, like you literally become shrunken, and so you're taking pictures of all these normally small Pokemon, but now they're giant compared to you. That's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
I don't know how much that'll. I mean, I don't know if that's applying to new stages or if it's old stages where you can just do that. That'll be a fun gimmick for like a little while, but it's still cool nonetheless.
Did you finish the game?
New Pokemon Snap? No, I'm still working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I know anyone who actually finished it.
No. It's not a game I'm in
not
a
that
rush.
It's a bad game. I'm not saying like it's a bad game. Don't get me
It's
wrong.
also not a game I'm in a rush to finish. Like it's not a game that I just like, I gotta finish. There's not much of the story. It's just about, I feel like taking a few pictures of Pokemon today. I'm just gonna do it. It's something I check in every few weeks or so.
So also another game delay was Kena Bridge of Spirits, one that I'm really looking forward to. That one was also delayed as well from their Twitter account until September 21st. So it's still coming out this year, but
yeah, just a month delay. It's probably just to polish some stuff off. I know there were some people that were concerned about, like, obviously the visuals were never in question how good the game was going to look. It's just as far as like the actual gameplay. This is Ember Lab's like first video game. They've done like a lot of animated projects. So I know there's concerns of whether or not the game would actually feel good. I think there's some playtesting that people were like, I don't know about this game. So if they're taking an extra month to like polish it up, it can only make the game better. So still looking forward to Kena.
Speaking of COVID, Pax West has officially announced that they are going to be requiring either, quote, a negative COVID-19 test or a vaccination to attend. Now, PAX East happened. A lot of people I saw were concerned because there were no mandates for COVID safety for PAX East. PAX West is now going to be, like I mentioned, requiring a vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test. How do you guys feel about that?
It's a good safety measure for sure. It's a better than nothing for damn sure. Like, I know a lot of people are concerned about going to any kind of convention. I think this will really allay a lot of fears because, it's just safer to regulate those kind of things. So that's cool.
I know a lot of these places are trying to get like money back and trying to, recoup from the last COVID year, but I don't think this should be happening, especially with the way cases are back up on the rise. Like, I'm sorry, but going to a convention and knowing everyone there has is either tested negative or has a vaccine is not going to make me feel any safer at this point, just because things are like picking up dramatically again now.
I think that
That's
just I think that just because it really sucks because the people that are willing to get vaccinated and get a negative COVID test have done what they needed to do to try to get us back to normal. And I think that there's nothing wrong with wanting to go to a convention and get things back to normal. I want to. Like, I got my vaccination. I haven't done anything for the past year. I work from home. The only thing that I have a problem with is people that aren't willing to do it, and therefore that's why we're seeing a surge again. That's why we're doing all this. I don't want to make this about like people refusing to get vaccines, but like we could just be at conventions doing this. We could just be here having fun again, but we can't because people are really selfish and really stupid. Let's be real. But yeah, I mean, wishful thinking, I want it to happen. The vaccines and the negative COVID tests are safety measures, but like, I don't know if it will be safe. I don't know when this is supposed to be happening. By next year, I'd probably be interested, but the end of this year, I'm not sure.
that little break when we were waiting for Jarrell to give space.
Sorry, I'm going to New Sleep. I'm so sorry. I was like, I don't fucking know. It's sometime this year.
Is it this year?
Coming.
Okay, then
it's this year. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm vaccinated, so I'm not necessarily scared. But with the surge of new cases and stuff, it's like this is probably just a bad time for this to be happening. I want things to get back to normal. And like I said, I'm pretty sure all of us have our vaccines. We're doing everything that we can to like get things back to normal because we care about others besides ourselves. But
I'm
gonna be honest. I got the vaccine 100% for myself.
I mean, but that also is like you inadvertently caring about everyone else, right? Like you're doing it for you, but you're also helping everyone else at the same time. So the PS5 has sold 10 million copies. Even though, you know, people still are unable to get one, it's technically
crazy that consoles. It's crazy that 5 million are in some dude's house right now.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, I guarantee you 50% of that was scalpers. And
5 million are listed on eBay currently
at this very moment. So also, not only that, but let's continue to talk about PlayStation a little bit. The ex-PlayStation boss Sean Layden bemoans consolidation effect on diversity in smaller games. This is from GameSpot.com. Everybody remembers, hopefully, Sean Layden. He's the former PlayStation executive, ex-PlayStation boss, as it says. This is written by James Carr, and it says, Sean Layden said that the rising cost of game development are leading to consolidation and a lack of diversity. In an interview with GamesIndustry.biz, Layden said that the increased cost of game development are not sustainable, especially since the number of people who own consoles today is roughly the same as in the late 1990s, about 240 to 260 million. Layden gave the interview after joining the advisory board for Streamline Media Group, where he will help provide strategy for both games and business. He said instead of increasing the audience size, the industry has just gotten people to spend more money on games. Layden said the smaller studios will soon get priced out of making games. This isn't the first time Layden has said that the cost of game development is ballooning in an unsustainable way. Here's a quote: "With each console generation, the cost of games goes up 2 times. So PS4 games were 100 million to 150 million. So it stands to reason that PS5 games, when they hit their stride, will be in excess of 200 million. It's going to be very difficult for more than a handful of large players to compete in that space." Layden went on to say that because of these rising costs, smaller companies will be absorbed into larger ones, limiting the amount of diversity in the games industry. And I just want to say it's very interesting because that's literally what we're seeing right now, right? PlayStation and Xbox are buying a lot of these smaller companies because they can't afford to continue to make games on a certain scale, according to Sean Layden. So that's one of the reasons that we see this happening. And the question, though, is his statement true? Are they losing some of their freedom because of being bought out by larger studios? Like, we don't know. Obviously, we don't know how much Xbox is allowing these people to work on their own games. We don't know how much PlayStation is doing it. But it's a really interesting comment. Is there anything you guys like to add on that? How do you feel about that?
Thinking about the statements that he says, yeah, there's certainly a lot of truth to his statements, but it's also just a tad short-sighted, if I'm being honest. He's certainly right that if you wanted to make like a AAA game or even like a AA game or whatever that would be considered, it's going to get harder and harder to do that if you're just by yourself. So we are seeing that with like our companies getting bought out these days, though, it's not necessarily only those kind of games that can exist. We see like independent games still thriving and surviving because they are doing like the new ideas. I don't necessarily think that as long as games those exist, his statement of games literally costed out of being development, I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to certainly hurt the vision of certain games, certainly, but games that don't like ridiculous amount of money won't just die like that just because it's just going to be harder to do. And also his statement about gamers just like spending more money, as it's certainly true, because more and more companies are finding ways to have you spend that $60 and then have you spend more either via DLC or microtransactions or what have you to help keep the cost of game development sustainable in a direction where it's not becoming less sustainable. And yeah, I can definitely see that as well.
So as for indie developers, he said, which don't spend hundreds of millions on development, he said that they face different challenges. He said that indie developers need to constantly look for funding in order to support their projects, with publishers holding this power over their heads. Indie developers are creatively restricted without funding, but have to present creative ideas in order to get funding.
Sure. That does make sense.
And so he said, how do we create an entryway for bona fide talent, interesting people who wish to break into interactive entertainment, but don't have the ability to surmount that giant financial hurdle? And it's getting higher and higher all the time. And the creator's ability to influence that outcome is becoming weaker and weaker.
Right.
And I 100% agree with everything he said.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with what he's saying, but it's funny because like one of the really most popular games that came out, I wrote an article on it, Phasmophobia. One person developed that game. One person, and it like took Steam by storm. I mean, they had so many people playing it. It was super popular. Like, but that is like the one game that I can think of.
That's what I was gonna say.
Nobody else. Like, there's a couple of other smaller teams. But
Among Us.
But like Among Us was like super popular, but I'm thinking of even like smaller indie games like Labyrinthine and like Phasmophobia that like me and my friends play because we play horror
Dead
games.
by Daylight
but
is another one.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, behavior was like put on the map by Dead by Daylight, really. It's still possible, but like we can list them all on like one hand. And to be honest, why are they all survival horror games? Like, there's like a huge market.
It's because they're great for watching, right? Like the only thing we can say about all of these is that streamers have made them what they are. So like the thing though is that you still need funding to make these games, right? Like if you want to have a game that's going to be great and you have Microsoft like, hey, we'll buy you and you can make this game, but if you do it, you have to do it our way. That's a risk that you're either willing or not willing to take. And if your game doesn't catch on through Twitch or through some big streamer, how much did you lose from it, right? I think he's completely correct in everything, and I think there should be, you know, a way that we can allow people to do these things without having to circumvent their ideas, right? Like I could have a great idea, but if I don't have the funding for it, right, like what am I supposed to do? Do you know how much HPCritical costs people? I thought it was a great idea until I found out how much that shit costs.
And I can't even imagine like a game like Dead by Daylight not existing now. Like it's so popular and it has been for so long. Like what if those couldn't get the funding? What if they just couldn't? Like that would be,
and they never
that would
made
be
the game.
terrible. That would be travesty. Like it's like such a popular game. I mean, the people that play it are super toxic, but still a great piece of like gaming history, I think. I mean, it would be crazy if they never, like it never existed. I would hate that.
The only thing I will say that the only thing that would make me disagree with him actually is the Steam Deck coming. I think that is going to be kind of disagree with him is because that makes it much more accessible, I think, for a lot of people like me who doesn't play on PC to be able to play a bunch of indie games for super cheap on Steam. I think that will allow, you know, a bigger audience to be able to play some games that they might have missed. And I'm just talking about my own personal experience because that's gonna be me, because I have a pretty decent Steam library. I just don't play on it because I want to play on my PC. So that'll be interesting to see what that changes. One more thing that Sean Layden said that I want to talk about before we move on is, and I quote, people don't buy consoles because they want more steel and plastic in the living room. People buy consoles because they want access to the content. If you can find a way to get that content into people's homes without a box, then yes, indeed, everyone has a streaming solution of some sort. Most of it is limited by whether you have a decent internet connection, and they haven't constructed the business model that works yet for that. It's very hard to launch a $120 million game on a subscription service charging $9.99 a month. You penciled it out, you're gonna have 500 million subscribers before you start to recoup your investment. That's why right now you need to take a loss-leading position to try to grow that base. But still, if you have only 250 million consoles out there, you're not going to get 500 million subscribers. So how do you circle that square? Nobody's figured that out yet. So what is the answer? It comes back to diversity. Gaming is reaching the end of its second epoch, which was the last 25 to 30 years of consoles everywhere. So I wanted to bring that last piece up because I thought that was very interesting, because it reminded me of what essentially Xbox is doing with Game Pass, right? They're essentially losing money because they still don't have enough subscribers to recoup that cost, and yet Game Pass is so successful. You know, you think about something like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14, and it's to a point where, you know, I think there's like millions of players still, but we don't even know how much money, you know, these games are actually making, and whether it's even worth the business investment. So I think he's got a point. People want to play new, diverse things, right? We don't want to keep, well, I am actually just going to shut up because I've been proven wrong. quite often, and move on unless there's anything you guys want to say about that. I was gonna say people don't want to keep playing the same thing, and yet NBA 2K22 comes out and Call of Duty X again.
Yeah, they'll sell annually.
Like
they have their
Creed
audience
comes out again, and like so that's why I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson, I feel a type of way about her. It's not positive. But it's not about how I feel about her. It's about how you guys are going to answer my question about her. So Scarlett Johansson sues Disney over Black Widow streaming release, and Disney has responded. This is from GameSpot.com. Essentially, I'm going to sum this up really quick. Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney because she said in her contract, it was an exclusive contract that said it was going to be, Black Widow was going to be released as a theatrical only release. And what she's saying is because Disney placed it on Disney Plus early or same day release or whatever it was, I'm pretty sure it was same day release, because Disney placed this movie same day release on Disney Plus, that meant that she did not get as much money as she would have had this come out in a theatrical release. And part of her contract is that she gets paid extra money based on how a movie does in theaters. And because it was also released at home, that meant that she didn't get as money as she felt like she would have gotten had it only been a release on in theaters. Make sense so far?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is essentially Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit. And basically it boils down to her saying, hey, a part of my contract said that this was only going to be a theatrical release. You guys lied. And that's not okay. Now, will that get her extra money in the end? Yeah, sure. But her main complaint is that her Disney broke their contract, right? So Disney has responded. And they said that there is no merit whatsoever to this filing. This is a quote. There's no merit whatsoever to this filing. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm sorry, I'm really trying not to laugh here. Further, the statement says the company has upheld its end of the contract while noting the actress has already received $20 million for her role in the film, adding that the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with Premier Access has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she has received to date. Let's talk.
I just love how they put her on like blast. Like,
they
I guess
literally
you don't care about people with COVID. I guess you don't care. You already got 20 million, bitch. And also, what I just first of all, they put her on blast. But like, who has the audacity besides Scarlett Johansson? How are you gonna be like the least like interesting person in the entire MCU?
Oh, hold on, that's bullshit because Hawkeye is standing right there. Let's
I mean,
calm
to be
down
honest,
with that
okay.
one.
Okay.
Fair.
He
They're
can
on
at
par.
least do something. She just fucking punches people. He can shoot a bow and arrow at least. Like, okay, it's a
She
skill.
can shoot a gun.
Got her cool wrist rocket too, I guess.
Yeah, she has so much better than just punching
Bro,
people.
she's trash.
Okay.
She's trash.
She's
I'm
trash.
not saying she's
Trash.
great, but she's not the most useless
She's
one.
trash. Bro, any of you could replace her.
No, actually, I
No, I
can't.
couldn't.
Okay. I'm just saying.
I can't move at
In
heels like
my
that.
opinion, she's the most least interesting person that ever
Mhm,
existed in the MCU. Let's
Well, that's a
Spoiler
lot.
alert, when she died,
Okay.
I was like, oh my god, finally. She's so annoying.
like, okay, yeah, no one whatever. She was just literally eye candy. Like, seriously.
Yeah, pretty much.
In a tight suit. Like,
Mhm.
so like to make a movie about her, first of all, it's so late because everyone's like so over the Avengers. Like, okay, and you're worried about making more than 20 million? You think somebody's gonna go see your fucking movie? I'm not.
I like
And
this.
yet she
I
has
love
one of
that
the
this is a
highest
Kelly
box.
rant on how
Yeah,
much she dislikes Black Widow. I love it. I'm here for it.
Like, you literally have her fighting next to people with superpowers, next to people like Thor. Oh God, Thor with a hammer. He's literally a god, and she's like, psh, psh,
Got my
psh,
guns.
like, okay, she's like punching and shooting like a gun. Like, okay, we're gonna pretend this is making sense. And all right, you get a movie now. I don't get it. Whatever.
You know, I agree with you, Kelly. I love that they put her on blast for this because it honestly, I understand if I'm gonna sue, it's because, hey, you guys said you were gonna do this one thing. It's a part of my contract. You didn't do it. But also, like, we didn't know how much money you were making, lady. Like, they just told everybody you just made $20 million, and technically they're not wrong, because that was a Disney Plus what is it called, premiere access. So people have to pay extra money to see that. So it's not like, you have to pay extra money on top of your Disney subscription. So it's not like people aren't paying extra to see your film. Like, not only are you, and they're right, like, essentially at home is easier to see. Like, it's much easier to log into Disney Plus, see the thing there, pay an extra fee, and see this movie than it is to gather the family or friends together and go to a theater during COVID. So, like, they're not even wrong. Like, they're essentially, it's better marketing for her. There's better marketing by placing it in people's homes than there is by forcing people to go to a theater. And you just got paid $20 million to, this is not to, demean actors or anything, but in the middle of a pandemic, you got paid $20 million, and you're probably going to get more at the end of the day when we see how many people have paid Premiere Access to watch this at home. Plus, like Gabe was mentioning, you did pretty darn good at the box office, correct? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
It's the best COVID box office premiere.
So you're gonna get more money because you had a decent COVID box office premiere, the best one. So you're gonna get more money. To me, this is just the Apple and Epic lawsuit. This is rich people wanting more money. Like, it's not like you didn't get paid for the job, and it's not like you're not gonna get more. I think her lawsuit is premature. I think you wait and see.
And to be honest, like, okay, you should wait and see, but also, like, the people that are gonna go to the theater have gone or are gonna go. Like, it being on Disney Plus is not like hindering them, I don't think, from going. To be honest, like, if you're gonna go see a movie, you're gonna go see a movie. Why anyone would go see Black Widow, I don't understand. Leave a comment. I don't get it.
Now,
like,
I will also say that according to this article, the decision to not because they did not renegotiate, the decision to not renegotiate could end up costing Scarlett Johansson over $50 million. So, there's a quote that says, "We totally understand that Scarlett's willingness to do the film and her whole deal is based on the premise that the film would be widely theatrically released like our other pictures. We understand that should the plan change, we would need to discuss this with you and come to an understanding, as the deal is based on a series of very large box office bonuses." So of course, this is why she's there, right? Her deal for this movie was like, I am going to make money based on box office bonuses, aside from the $20 million that I've signed on to make this movie. And it could cost me $50 million. Now, $50 million is not a tiny penny to be missing. So I low-key understand wanting to sue because it's $50 million, but also that's not guaranteed. And I also think, Disney called her out, and I'm kind of on Disney's side with this. Like, you have to handle these things the right way. And I don't think that this was handled the right way. And I feel like when Disney receives a lawsuit because you did a contracted job that you got paid for and you're waiting for bonuses and you're suing us now, well, now we're gonna make you look bad. And I think that's exactly what they did. And for the public, it's like, we're not getting $20 million to be in movies, right? Like, we're not missing 50 million. What?
I just think the devil works hard, but Disney's PR team works harder.
Oh, my God,
literally.
yes. And by the way, during this article says during its opening weekend, Black Widow earned $80 million at the domestic box office, along with an additional $60 million in Premiere Access sales. That is $80 million plus $60 million they wouldn't have gotten had they not put this on Premiere Access, right? Like, we don't know that more people would have gone to the theater if it weren't there. Like Kelly said, the people who wanted to go to a theater to see it went to a theater to see it, right? It doesn't mean that if it's on Premiere Access that more people are going to go to theaters. It could mean that, or it could mean that you would have lost $60 million had it not been put on Premiere Access. Anyway, Brandon, Gabe.
Yeah. So first off, I'm just going to preface this by saying I don't think there's a high chance that this lawsuit even goes to court. I feel like they'll probably just settle this out of court in some way. Now, as far as like the actual breach of, we're seeing a very like he says she says kind of thing going on right now, because Scarlett Johansson is asserting that her contract was breached, whereas Disney said that certainly nothing of theirs breached right now. I don't know who's telling the truth here. Like if we're just, like I'm it's purely objective. I'm not even gonna go my opinions about the characters, movies, whatever. I'm just talking objectively of like the law. If it really stipulated that she was only supposed to be like this is only supposed. By the way, before I even get into that, that's why this movie took so long to come out in any state, because this was supposed to come out last year, and people were just like, when it wasn't coming out, there were people yelling, just put it on Disney Plus or whatever. Well, now we know why. If there was this contract in place, then they literally legally couldn't do it. So, but now we're in 2021. The movie has finally come out. It came out in both theaters and Disney Plus with the premiere access thing. And yeah, if she's getting money from the Disney Plus premiere access money as well as the box office numbers, then I legit don't know what the fuck
why she's doing this about. Exactly. Like I honestly, that's why I said I think this is premature. I don't think she knows how much revenue this Disney Plus premiere access is gaining, right? That's only $20 million less than theater releases. And if you're getting money from both of that, plus the $20 million that you made from just doing the movie, like, girl, you just want money. And like, I understand, I completely understand that this is a part of your contract and you were expecting, like, you're missing 50 million. Like, that's not a little bit of money. But also something else that I didn't mention, which I should mention now, is that her legal document also talks about how millions of others who would have watched in theaters will instead view the picture on perfect digital pirated copies, all made possible by Disney's decision to release the picture day and date on Disney Plus. Indeed, Black Widow was the #1 pirated title of the July 19 week per the news site Torrent Freak. So her lawsuit is also that, like, hey, you guys also put it on here and now more people are going to pirate it and not pay for it. So that's also revenue that I won't be making because of your decision. Yeah, but I mean, people was gonna do that anyway, girl.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Torrents,
it might be better now,
regardless of whether a movie goes on streaming or not. That didn't suddenly get created just because your movie also went to a streaming service. That's foolish. But it's everything that I'm saying right now about, like you said, the lawsuit's premature. How I don't think she knows. That's why I think this whole shit's gonna get settled out of court, because like eventually it's gonna come to light where she's probably gonna realize that maybe she's gonna make money, or she realized that this is not good, she's not gonna win, what have you. Either way, they're gonna come to some kind of agreement, and this is just this thing we're talking about. It's gonna be like forgotten, because I don't think it's gonna go that far. It's just, and again, like you said, it's like the Apple versus Epic thing. It's like two rich people just want the money. I'm just like, am I supposed to care about this? Like, the law's gonna law, whatever. If there's a breach of contract and she wins, great. If she didn't and she loses, whatever. Law's gonna law. I don't give a fuck. If I'm being perfectly honest, I like whatever. She gets her money or they get their money. I don't care. I went to the movie. It was fine, and that's pretty much my whole thing about it. They can do whatever they want at this point.
I was laughing because can you imagine, like, she goes to court and they settle, and then it turns out she would have gotten much more money later on because of like the amount of money that Disney Plus Premier Access made, and they're like, well, fuck you, now we're not giving you any of this because you didn't want this, and like she loses out on money. I think that would be ironic.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious. Yeah.
Like, you didn't want
and
to
like then you don't get invited. Then you don't get invited to come back to any Avengers stuff in the future. Like,
well, I mean, she died, so.
Yeah, she was. I don't think she was anyway.
This is probably
prequels exist.
I mean, this was the
prequel.
Now,
honestly, I guess this is probably her last payday. Then.
Yeah, that's probably why she's like,
why not?
Like, you might as well go all out and get your money, girl. It's your last movie.
Yeah.
Gabe, did you want to add anything? I know you hate us.
Oh yeah, I did. Well, one, this is why contracts are important. You should always read through your contract. And then numero dos, she's not the first person to have a problem with Disney about
because Disney's trash. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but what's the point with the Premier Access thing? I actually believe I don't think it was Kevin Feige or Feige, whatever his name is, the head of Marvel, but I think it was one of the directors of Black Widow. When they found out that it was being put on Disney Plus, so like, wait, no, this wasn't the agreement. This isn't what we all talked about and stuff. So not very surprised that the lead actor came out and was like, hey, it's not what that says.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that was the case for a lot of movies, like not just Disney Plus, but HBO Max movies. There was some disagreements with that too. That was a buzz for a little bit.
I want to also say that Disney's trash. I said it before, Disney's trash. So I'm not technically pro Disney here either, right? Like, I think it's fucked up to fuck up someone's contract in a way, and of course she has every right to sue. But also, it's just funny because Disney made her look bad, even if she's right. Like, it doesn't even matter at this point, because sometimes public opinion and perception is more important than, you know, whatever this lawsuit is, because at the end of the day, this is going to affect Scarlett's career, essentially, right? Because if you look like if you look like an actor who's making 20 million, who's set to make more, but is complaining because they're not making enough, you know, the general public can essentially turn on you based on that, and that will affect your career in the future.
How would it affect her career? She takes every role. They're like, we need a Chinese woman. She's like,
That's why I
I'm
have
right
a problem
here.
with her already.
They're like, we need this diverse cast. Oh, ScarJo's there. Oh, she'll take
that's
it.
why I have a problem with her already. And you know what? You're right. It's not going to affect her because all the dude bros are going to go watch her movies anyway.
I just thought it was funny that people are now probably like sticking up for her when, like, months ago when she was taking roles from other people, they were like, oh, she's so terrible, blah, blah, blah. But now, like, oh, well, if it's in her contract, like, she's taking roles from marginalized people constantly. I don't give a fuck what happens to her. Like,
yeah,
okay.
I'm not a ScarJo fan because of that specifically. So Call of Duty, Last of Us, God of War, really big names, right? Developers from those have set up a new AAA studio called That's No Moon. It's working on a single-player action-adventure title with $100 million of investment. So developers from the teams behind The Last of Us, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, God of War, Destiny, and more have come together to form That's No Moon, a new studio working on a single-player third-person action-adventure game and backed with a $100 million investment. As announced in a press release, That's No Moon comes with a huge AAA pedigree, with many of its senior figures coming from a background at PlayStation Studios. Michael Mumbauer, former head of PlayStation's Visual Arts Group, is CEO, and Tina Kowaleski, formerly head of product development at Sony Santa Monica, is chief strategy officer. Although details are scant, the studio's first game will be an ambitious new action-adventure game that will push the limits of both gameplay and story. Taylor Kurosaki will serve as creative director, and Jacob Minkoff will be game director. The duo previously worked together at Infinity Ward and Naughty Dog on Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and The Last of Us. That's No Moon says the wider development team's credits include God of War, Fortnite, The Last of Us Part 2, Destiny, Uncharted 4, Thief's End, and many more. They've received a $100 million investment from Smilegate, creator of the Crossfire series, never heard of it, which will also be acting in a partnership role. The partnership aims to create new experiences that will inspire empathy and deeper personal connections with players around the world. Interestingly, while the studio is working on a game, the announcement press release mentions that That's No Moon rests at the intersection of games, film, and TV, although it's not clear if that's a creative philosophy or representative of the actual kinds of projects it aims to work on. That's No Moon. You know, I brought this up because this is literally what Sean Layden was talking about, right? Like, you have people that want to make a really cool game, and these people are not new to the industry. Like, they're industry heads. They're able to come together and get $100 million investment to make a AAA title on their brand new studio. Like, what the fuck? Like, how does this happen? That's what happens when you're a part of the industry. Anybody have any comments on that?
I just think it's funny because we just talked about someone suing Disney. Now I can imagine Disney suing them for using That's No Moon. What? Like,
why?
it's a quote from Star Wars. Like, you can't.
Oh, is
can you
it?
Yes,
Yeah,
That's No Moon. When they see the Death Star, like, are you allowed to use that? Like, I'm not sure. Like, I hope, because I can only imagine if Disney's like, you know what? No, not happening. $100 million. I guess you're giving that to us. Like, I can only imagine.
Sue them for $100 million, and now they have no money.
Oh my god, yeah. But this would be a really cool idea. Actually, I mean, some of these people getting together, but yeah, I mean, they're taking $100 million that indie games can't get. So,
hey, indie games don't need it. They're good on their own.
Honestly, didn't Infinity Ward do stupid Infinite Warfare, and that was just like,
I don't remember. Probably.
Anyways, go on.
I mean, you might be right. Who knows? The last thing I want to talk about is that the PS5 update has now added SSD support. So you can now install a new SSD into your PlayStation 5. It also comes with 3D audio sound for TV speakers, new trophy trackers, and much more. There's an article at Game Informer that you can check out for that. I've been seeing some things about how you install the SSD on a PlayStation 5 and how you install extra storage on the Xbox. We all know you buy the little if you don't know, you buy the little Seagate specific Microsoft Seagate extension tab, whatever the fuck it's called. You pop it into the back of the Xbox and that's it. For the PlayStation 5, you have to open the PlayStation 5 up, unscrew the area, install an SSD that you have to buy separately, and then screw it back on, cover the faceplate, etc. It's much more, difficult rather, I guess. It's much more involved than just sticking a slot into the back of the Xbox. And people have been complaining about it. If I can do it, I think anyone can do it. And I don't do anything because I'm a lazy fuck. So that's not true. I do a lot. That's not true. I should not say that about myself. Anyway, how do you guys feel about the comparison of how these two are done? And do you think it's fair to compare them? Also, to note, the Seagate one, if I'm not mistaken, has to be purchased specifically for Xbox, whereas the SSD that you're installing in the PlayStation can literally be bought from anywhere and be any size, and you can spend whatever amount of money you want to install it. I know Kelly goes on PC, so maybe she can, attest to how installing an SSD is. I know that Brandon and Gabe, you guys have a PS5. I don't know if it'd be something that you'd be interested in doing. Tell me your feelings.
It hasn't really been an issue for me personally getting a new SSD. It may be something to look into in the future. It is a bit discouraging to find out that it's probably not the easiest to set up, but it's something I really needed. I mean, I'd figure it out. It's like, these things do come with like directions. I feel like if something comes with directions, you could probably figure it out. Like one of the rougher ones for me was, I remember with the new Nintendo 3DS, if you wanted to like change your SD card, you had to like literally like get like a screwdriver to take the back out and then like put it in. That was, I can't believe they required you to do that just to like switch your SD card. It was crazy.
It's funny.
Maybe the PS5 has a similar thing. I haven't really looked into it deeply, but like if it does require
very simple. Literally, okay, I'm gonna try to explain it to you. You know how you can pop off the faceplates of the PS5?
Sure.
You literally take off the faceplate. There's a little slot right next to the fan. Right next to the fan. You unscrew the panel. You stick your SSD in there. You screw the SSD in. You screw the panel back on, and you pop the faceplate on there. It's really not that difficult.
That doesn't sound nearly as difficult. Yeah, I mean, it's more than I think of the average person would want to do, as opposed to
that is fair. Yes, I agree.
As opposed to just
literally just sticking it in
USB. Yeah, but still, it's not nearly as, it's obviously not as hard as the most annoying one I've done. So there you go. I guess it's a nice little medium ground. But I mean, if it's something you really want, it's again, you'll make the effort if it's something you really want. If you don't, you don't. I don't think it's a big deal.
So to me, I think it's not a big deal because one, that saves me from buying a PS, like, say along the lines, they decided to come up with a PS5 that has 2 terabytes of memory. It's going to save me from that probably cost $1,000. So that saved me from that. And then 2, I was going to say that if I wanted more storage, I would just connect an external hard drive, but having the SSD does allow you, because you can't play PS5 games off the external hard drive. I don't know if people were aware of that, but you can only play PS4 games off the external hard drive. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. Like, but again, it's not that hard of a task. If PS5 was to update anything, I feel like that's one of the things they shouldn't have been focusing on because they have so much more to update on. But I'm not going to talk about that because that's a whole other angry spiel. But and then when it comes to Xbox and PS5 and the ways they do it, I mean, I know there's those Xbox people that are like, oh, you guys got to do all that work just to get more memory. All we got to do is this. But like, you also got to remember, it's like Jarrell said, you have to buy a specific one. We can buy whatever the fuck we want. So there's its pros and its cons on doing one on adding the SSD on each.
Mm-hmm.
So also, like I mentioned, they're also making it easier to see in console on the library distinctly which titles are for PS5 and which titles are for PS4. They're also tweaking the control center. They're including more ways to personalize controls and message friends from the game base. The Friends tab in the game base is also getting a few UI tweaks, making it easier to see who's online. There's a new trophy tracker that is going to also have added change. It's a substantial update. They also do mention, though, that using an M.2 does have the potential to overheat a PS5, and M.2, I don't know if you guys know what that is. Using an M.2 SSD with your PS5 console requires effective heat dissipation with a cooling structure such as a heatsink. You can attach one to your M.2 SSD yourself, either in a single-sided format or double-sided format. So that is something that you would have to be knowledgeable about, and not something you'd have to deal with on an Xbox, to be fair. But yeah, Kelly, I mean, you use PCs. How do you feel about hearing this?
I mean, it doesn't really affect me. I mean, I haven't really thought about needing more memory because PCs come with a lot. So
okay, fair enough. The other thing that I will say, based on what Gabe said, was that I didn't know that you could not play. I think I had heard before, but I didn't remember that you couldn't play PS5 games off of an external hard drive. But you can do it from an SSD, correct?
Yeah, because SSD is internal storage.
And so doesn't that make it like, I don't know, but wouldn't this make it better performance, like easier to load up, quicker to play through? Like, yeah. Everything is just going to be better when you have it on an internal storage, right?
100%.
And then
yeah.
That Seagate what is that? Is that also, I guess it's external hard drive that you input, not a part of the SSD? I don't know.
Wait, what?
For Xbox, the Seagate terabyte that you plug in.
Yeah, I don't know. Technically, to me, that sounds external because, again, it's not.
Because you can just take it out
console.
and plug it in. Yeah. So I don't know if games would run the same way on Xbox.
Xbox is the power console. We're so much more powerful than PS5.
Okay, well, I wasn't going there. Oh, all right. And with that, I think we're gonna end. Is there anything else that you guys would like to pipe up about before we wrap this baby up? This was a long one. Thanks for hanging out, for everybody who is.
Hey, you know what I'm gonna hype up? I'm gonna hype up the people who listened all the way to the end. You guys are great. We talked some heavy stuff. We talked some light stuff, and we talked about it a lot. But you guys stuck with us to the end, and we love you. Thank you so much.
I don't know about love. I don't know that.
Yeah, love's a strong word.
I love you.
I'm just kidding. I love everyone who listens because we appreciate it. Honestly, we come here every week and we talk for hours, and we appreciate everyone who's hanging out with us. So thank you. For real. Much love. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Good night.